You see, when I was in school, boys my age had already stopped bedwetting. I think from class 4, class 3, but even in class 6, I still had the problem. When he was angry, you feared him. He has this beautiful, wonderful face that changes into something else when he's angry. It is the desire of every father to raise a man. You see, even when you pray that God gives you children and God gives you a son or sons, the desire is that you raise them to become strong men, people who can be responsible and even raise other families. But also, it's also the desire of a young man as you're growing up. At a certain stage in life, you desire to also grow and become that man. And so you look around and you think, who can I emulate? Who can be, my role model? And as a young man, you borrow a lot from people. You borrow from people you interact with, people who you read about or you watch. All that becomes a basis of you forming or becoming a man. I was that young man at some point, and I remember looking at my father, and I remember being inspired by him. My father was a pastor, and he fathered a church called Kenya Assemblies of God. And I remember looking at him every single day and seeing a man I wanted to become. He was very strong, very staunch follower of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I liked how he even preached with humor. He preached with a lot of zeal. I remember sitting as a young boy and admiring him. I give a joke about how he used to preach and pray for people, and then he would say, touch, and then people fall down. As a young boy, I looked at him and I thought, this is a man I would want to become. But in the same way, in as much as there was a lot to be admired about him, there was also another side of him that really freaked me out. My father was a tough disciplinarian, and I know people of my age could relate with our parents who were such. But I think my father was extra. It was extra because when he was angry, you feared him. He has this beautiful, wonderful face that changes into something else when he's angry. Because I remember as a young boy seeing his eyes turn red in his anger. And then he has a vein that crosses here. You could just see it and you could tell Papa is not okay. Daddy is angry. And that face of him was not admirable at all. The problem was he would switch very easily. I didn't understand what that basically meant, but now I know it is what we call being easily angered, or what we call quick to anger. One day you would be laughing, but then the next minute, in the same day, he would change and become something else. And so that made me fear him. And without knowing, fear started engulfing in me. I started slowly withdrawing myself and becoming a loner. Because every time, I think in his desire to raise a man, he thought I was growing so slowly and he needed to fasten the process. I think I remember one time we had an issue. There's something I did that he didn't love. And so he called me. He had this voice, good for preaching, but when it came to disciplining, that thing freaked you out. Because I remember he would call me, Ken! And then he wouldn't say anything else. And so wherever you are, you would answer yes, and he says nothing else. So when you hear him call you, and he says nothing else, of course, you've done something wrong. And also from the tone of his voice, you would tell something is wrong. So he would go, and then I would stand before him and I would see that face. My goodness. And the question as a young boy at that point was, where do I escape to? Or where do I run to? You see, when I do my mentorship programs right now to parents who are trying to raise their children and discipline them, I also try to show them, why don't you walk with your children in a way as you're disciplining them, they're understanding what exactly is happening. It is not a matter of, the battle of titans, which is what I think happened during my time when I was a young boy. Because looking at him raging in anger, I knew this might be my last. And so he had a cane where he was seated. He had a very big cane that he put there, right? And if that cane broke, it was your responsibility to go and look for another one and come and bring it. It is laughable right now, but at that time it was something else. So if that cane broke, or it lost its strength, it was your responsibility to go and get another one. And if you bring one that is not good, he would use it on you, and then if it breaks, you had to go again, get another one, a better one. Laughable right now, but at that time it freaked me out. The whole ordeal of not knowing what exactly have I done wrong, how do I correct it? It was first to be caned and to be disciplined, then the talk comes later. And sometimes it was the cane to speak to you, not my father, right? And so unfortunately, that started creating fear in me. And without knowing, the fear kept on building and building and building. And at some point I realized I am not seeing my father. I'm not seeing him. I am only seeing the pastor and the disciplinarian. Because the moments I enjoyed him as a father were becoming less and less, and I saw a disciplinarian. When we went to church, I would see him preach with vigor and all that, but I didn't know, slowly by slowly I was caving in. And unfortunately, it even slowed my bedwetting process. You see, when I was in school, boys my age had already stopped bedwetting. I think from class 4, class 3, but even in class 6, I still had the problem. And unfortunately, even when I went to high school, that's a story we'll get to. But that fear started building up in me, and it started messing so many functions in me. I was not a courageous boy. I shied off. I am born together with a twin sister and my elder sister. They were more outspoken than I was. Why? Because that male factor in me slowly by slowly was caving in. But I think my father didn't observe that. All he wanted was to keep pushing me to become a better man, to become a fully grown man, responsible, not doing what other boys were doing. Because I remember we even separated from other people. We were separated in a way I would not go out there and play with other boys. It was illegal. Even when other boys were, going to do what boys need to do, it was illegal for me. One, because of the status of being the son of a pastor, I had to be well collected all the time, if not most of the time. And so I don't remember the boy in me growing. I don't remember the boy coming out. I don't remember the boy being fashioned in a way that you enjoy your boyhood and prepare to transition into manhood. What I remember was my father trying every day to fasten the process. I actually remember one time, I schooled at Ngurubani Primary School in Moya, and we had the responsibility to sometimes clear the field when there were games and all that. So one day we were told to carry pangas to go and help with doing that. And I carried my panga and I went to school, and then I placed it in my locker. When I placed it in my locker, we went to the washroom, and then when we came back, we were supposed now to go be inspected. If you have not carried the panga, you'll be punished and sent home. So we went to class. We were told, now prepare. You're going to go to the field. You'll be inspected whether you have what you are asked to come with, and then we would go now to start helping with clearing the field. But then when I went back to my locker, I found it had been broken into and somebody had taken the panga. I didn't know who. And so when I went to the field, of course, I had done wrong. I don't have what we were asked to carry. And so I have to explain and say why I didn't come with it. I tried to say it has been stolen, but then I was told, you know what, those are the excuses other people are giving. So go home and we will punish you. Go, you come with a parent, and there was all that. But then I found a way to still stick in the school. I went home in the evening. When I went home, my father asked me, where is the panga? And I told him I don't have it. And then I saw that look on him. Angry man, ready to pounce on me, ready to start caning me, ready to fight me. And at that point, it's a mixed reaction of, what wrong did I do? You see, those questions, unfortunately, many parents don't understand that those questions are running in their children. And so the best thing might be to try help them, come to a reasoning space to understand also where they went wrong, what could have been done differently. So those questions were boiling in my heart. What have I done wrong? What would I have done different? But then I didn't have a chance to explain anything. I said it was stolen. And so the question that my father asked me was, unaibiwa wewe ni mtoto? Why are they stealing from you? Are you a child to be stolen from? How do you answer that question? It's difficult. And so I remember he really caned me and beat me. It was a thorough beating. And I don't know why that story, that memory is still engulfed somewhere in my heart. Did I forgive him? Of course, I forgave him. But unfortunately, towards the development of this boy becoming a man, there are memories that still remain of the things that I had to go through. And so, when I was in church, there was a guy who was playing the piano. And I think I saw him and admired how, freely he was doing it, how creatively he was doing it. And so I developed an interest of playing the piano. So I went to him, and God bless him wherever he is, started playing the piano, started teaching me, this is how you play key G, F sharp, F, D, and all that. So I started learning, and I realized that became an escape point for me. Anytime when I didn't feel okay, I didn't feel like everything was going on in the right direction, I remember I used to go get the piano, start to play, and music became my way of expressing myself. Just playing the keys, touching them, and producing some melodies. That became an escape point for me. And that helped me through my childhood to try and even escape from the things that I felt were not going on well with me. And you know what? Unfortunately, I still was a small boy. Even with me being made to become a man at an early age, I was still that small boy. And he was not a healthy boy, because he was a very fearful boy.